The legends would tell you that he's the worst of the worst. Here's a look into Super 7, The Worst Ultimates, Captain Deadstar, Cosmic Ghoul Renegade. Avast ye, Captain Deadstar, the Cosmic Ghoul Renegade, sails the 7 galaxies, pillaging planets and blasting starships to Davy Jones's space locker. Through charted and uncharted space, the salty space dog steals and hornswoggles any and all mystic relics and space booty he can find, and satisfies his carousers' thirst for adventures along the way. Beware all those that stand in his way, whether ye be marooned on an asteroid or forced to walk the plank over a black hole, Captain Deadstar takes no prisoners. If it was the captain's mess, then let him clean it up. Before we get a closer look, though, at Captain Deadstar, that was a Looney Tunes joke, by the way. Let's go ahead and take the tape measure, as we always do, to figure out how tall the figure stands, factoring his hat, which is non-removable, by the way. Captain Deadstar stands 6 3/4 of an inch tall, or the figure is roughly 17 centimeters in height. And flipping off the bird to anybody that's around him, here's what he looks like next to Batula. Now, while it may look like they're using maybe some of the same parts, retooling the ones that they need to do, the figures end up being about the same height to one another. I know very astute viewers will notice right away that Captain Deadstar R is in fact taller, but that's also because he's also wearing a hat. And what a fine amount of booty gets packaged along with the figure. First, we'll have a look at some of the smaller things. Captain Deadstar comes included with a tiny thermal grenade. The grenade actually, in fact, looks like it's got a zipper. I don't think it's a zipper. You can see this is probably the little activation button, and he can blow everything to Kingdom Come. This does fit into his hands, at least one of the hands he comes included with. He comes with these big, giant gripping hands. I mean, obviously, these aren't hands that you're going to be just displaying with the figure as is, but it is one at least that holds the thermal grenade. It's also going to hold the bottle of rum. Did somebody say rum? First of all, the figure does come included with swappable hands on both the sides, so if you want to actually have him wielding 2 larger accessories, you can certainly do that. Put those to the side. I did say rum. The figure comes included with a tiny little bottle of rum. Space rum, in fact, to be exact. I don't think there's any real difference. Maybe the longer time you have to let it sit and cure. What do we do with rum anyways? It has to sit in barrels. Space drums, perhaps. Anyways, we have space rum. It looks like it's slightly off-colored. It's kind of more of a, I don't know what you would call it, like a honey-colored plastic that they end up using. And X's usually on the front will either tell you that something is dead or something is alcoholic. In this case, it's the latter. Again, you can take those hands that we've already had a look at, and take R, the space rum, and it fits into his hands, though not well. When you do put it in his hand, it's just the luck of the draw. It actually holds better if you have it more to the bottom end of the bottle. If you put it about midway through, it doesn't seem to stay properly in place. A lot of times it usually just falls out of his hand. I'm doing it just now by only the luck of the lady. You can only go ahead and put that on the bottom. This is really the best way, and yeah, you can tilt it upside down and it seems to be okay. Speaking of also Lady Luck, the figure also comes included with a treasure map, leading you to said treasure. These are planets rather than islands, and I guess this is the starting point where the Captain Deadstar and the rest of his crew started, and their maiden voyage, plundering people I'm sure along the way, ends up arriving at the X. What's interesting is that the X is not even on a moon. It seems to be off somewhere in the galaxy. Maybe that's on a small little star that's too small to actually see on the map. The map is printed only on one side. As you can see, the other side is completely printed blank, or just blank paper. You could technically fold this up. It's got all these little fold marks on it, so you can kind of technically fold it up. And this can, again, hold in his hand. Just put it in the hand, the same hand that held R, the rum. I'm not going to keep saying R, don't worry. You can also take the map and put it inside the treasure chest, although that really would defeat the purpose. I think you would need one to find the other. The treasure chest is nicely done. You can see there's a little hinge here on the back. Though if you do have the hinge of the door too far back, the treasure chest usually is prone to falling forward. If you have it angled a little more forward like this, then it's enough to balance itself and it doesn't fall and topple over. To go along with the treasure chest and the treasure map, you get yourself a treasure key. I do like the treasure key in the sense that it's actually got a little tiny skull on it. Nicely painted there as well. Those curious, does it actually fit inside the lock? It does not. Oh, missed opportunity. It would have been nice if they had found the way to actually make the lock hole big enough that you could actually have inserted the key. Is that really a big deal? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's not really a big deal. The treasure chest does look nice, though. Short of the padlock here in the front, unlockable. There's like a little latches there on the side that the crew can carry around. And again, some nice detailing on the inside. Pretty blank inside, but at least you can store some things. Like, for example, a turkey leg. Would that be a space turkey? Okay, I think we're getting a little out of hand here. It does come included with like a tiny little leg. It just says it's a barbecue bird leg, but it doesn't really say what type of bird it is. Could be ostrich, really, by the size of it. The handle, the end of the drumstick, was bent out of the packaging like this. I might just heat this up, not that it's a real deal breaker, and just see if I can straighten out the bone at least. But some nice detailing done. It doesn't really look like there's much paint really been added to it, but a nice little drumette. I guess that'd be too small. Like a turkey leg comes included with the figure as well. This is fun. I'm obviously not going to be saying what exactly this is. You can see there on the front. You can read it for yourself. This is a list that he's making of problems he's dealing with right now. He does come with a tiny little quill pen, so you can continue writing your notes. My list would be a lot longer than this. You can see what a fun touch this is to include. And technically, yeah, you could really put that in treasure chest. The treasure chest also serves to be a good place to store the accessories that you're not actually displaying with the dear captain. Just put them all in there and close it up. Might just do that maybe with the list, the non-mentioned list, and the quill pen, just because I don't want to have either one of those lost on me. Did I also forget to mention that the figure comes included with some closed fist hands? He does, just in case I did not say that. So those round out the rest of the accessory hand-wise, at least it comes included with. It comes also with a neat little fire sword. Little almost seems to be diminishing just how cool this actually is. It's a pretty large size sword too. It's not translucent plastic. I mean, I could keep waving my hand behind it. It's not going to be doing much of anything. But it's a nice little flaming sword that he can display in his hand. There really isn't any place that you can actually store it for obvious reasons. The flames are going to just be burning his pants to a crisp. There isn't no place that you can actually store it on the figure. What, however, can be stored on the figure, he comes included with a laser pistol. The pistol looks like something Buck Rogers would be carrying around with him. It's done in a dark gunmetal gray. And this, again, can be fit into his hand. I know this whole time, really, I haven't even been talking about things holding in his existing hands. But he does hold the pistol. Although, unfortunately, the figure doesn't have a trigger-firing hand. So the pistol is always not going to be sitting straight. It's always going to kind of be veering off to the side, veering out of course. What you can also do, too, is locate on the side of the figure. Now, when you get him out of the packaging, this is already installed. For a few times trying it, it didn't seem like it was actually going to remove from the holster. I find actually it's this little clip, the end sight, I guess that would be the thing that gets hung up. You just want to make sure you're tucking that in as you're drawing out, as you're pulling out the pistol. But it does get stuck a lot because of that little point on the end of the barrel. The last thing the figure comes included with will involve me having to remove the cape. Not technically the swappable heads. I guess we could technically, we'll look at those next. The figure also comes included with a couple of parrots. I'm assuming it to be the same parrot, just one has fanned out wings, the other one has the wings folded to the sides. But in both the cases, I hate to tell him, Polly is dead. We talked about those X's before. X, again, either being booze or usually being dead. And in this case, it's actually a dead bird. I don't know if anyone has the heart to tell the dear captain that his bird probably died a long time ago and he's just been carrying around a corpse on his shoulder. Speaking of shoulders, though, this does fit on his shoulder. He does have clips. The two birdies have clips or little pegs on the bottoms of his feet. A nice little representation of the little birds. I kind of think I would probably go with, you know what, I might like to go with this one. It's a dead parrot after all. I don't think it's going to have its wings out unless he had it stuffed like this. It's morbid thoughts. Anyways, though, the figure itself does come with a cape. It's a very similar type of cape to the one we got with Bachelor. Not as high of a collar, granted, and it certainly doesn't have the back clasp on the front, but it does actually detach a lot easier. There's a little Velcro here on the side that you simply just remove and just take it off completely if you want to leave it off. I do like it with it on, but leaving it off at least allows me to show you where the actual parrot attaches to. So the little hole here on the back, you can take then the parrot's foot and just plug it in. Now the talons actually are softer plastic, so you may actually have to kind of wiggle it a bit to get it into the hole properly. But there's what the dead parrot looks like on his shoulders. The one that has the wings is a little harder to do for obvious reasons, just because the wings are sticking out. You can still attach it on there, but you kind of have to have the parrot. Well, you can't turn the head in either way. So even if I was using the other parrot, turning the head is going to clip the wings. And a couple of times I've actually knocked the parrot off. If you kind of just lean the head a little bit further forward, you're not going to have that problem. It clears it just by only a little bit. Let's take the parrot off, put that aside. Looking at the defaulted head sculpt right now, this one is sporting a single gold tooth. A patch over his eyes. So already we're checking off all the boxes that you'd expect with a parrot or with a pirate. He also has a pirate hat. The hat's not removable. It's molded in place. You know, the other head sculpts, just to put the figure down here for a second, comes with two other variations. I just want to say, you may have noticed my struggle at the beginning of this video, trying to remove these from the plastic tray. Could they have allotted a little bit more space, please? Just a little bit. Would it have been so hard to... It's hard. You won't know until you have the figure, or at least until you're able to just feel the suffering that I had to go through just to remove both these heads from the trays. You do get one. Let's go pick up the defaulted figure here. So you get one that has the mouth that's opened. I kind of like this one, though, honestly, more than this one here, just because it has the open mouth. It still has the gold tooth, but the open mouth does add a little bit of extra charm to the head sculpt. To take the head and remove it, simply just pop it off the ball joint. Unlike Bachelor, though, I found that this head was a little harder to get off. I don't know why. It's like the ball joint's exactly the same size, and yet for some reason it was a harder time to do. Go ahead and pop the head back onto the ball joint, put it in place there. And now we've got the one that actually has the open mouth, just to show you the difference between the two. Where we left, where we arrived, you can see the difference. I like the open mouth just a little bit more. If you, though, prefer One-Eyed Willie instead, one that's missing the eye patch does actually still have one eye. Now, I don't know whether it's a functioning eye. He's got to be able to see somehow, although really, if he's got the patch over top of the one seeing eye, really, how is he seeing anything? Either way, though, I really like this one. This one's nice, too, but I think I'm still going to default to the one that has the patch. The hats seem, in both the cases, to be the exact same. The trim is done in here in white. So you've got, again, like the little, skull and crossbones here on the top, done in almost like an off grayish white. And like I said, like the faces are really good on both these. I prefer this of the three. And again, we can go ahead and take the cape. You know what? We'll leave the cape off for the rest of this review, just because it's a lot easier to show you guys all the detailing for the rest of the figure. For the rest of the figure's body, one of the problems I really did have with Bachelor, if you've already taken the time to watch my review of that, thank you very much, by the way. I'm going to bring in Bachelor here for a second, who's drinking from his goblet. The legs, do you remember when we had a look at the legs, how bad they were on Bachelor? It's still a problem. It hasn't gone away just because I've stopped reviewing this guy. One thing, at least, to the credit of Captain Deadstar, is while he still has this, what seems almost like the same joint, although the leg lines up a lot more, the lower calf at least lines up better to the rest of the thigh, but the leg does not shift at all. I don't know if they've just constructed it differently. Perhaps that was the case. Or maybe it's just the design of his suit. His pants are something that could be a little bit closer together. Either way, though, I have no issues with his legs. Bachelor needs to take some notes here. He does have the one cybernetic peg leg. I think that's a nice touch. He does have a peg hole for obvious reasons, but it's only on just the one foot. He doesn't have it here on the other side. But, you know, despite for the fact it obviously isn't quite lining up, the peg leg seems like it's just a tad bit shorter. It doesn't cause any problems when it comes to the figure standing. He stands actually perfectly fine. Mostly the body looks like it's been done here with a dark gunmetal gray, but still there's an opportunity made to be adding some lighter strips of gray here on the front, some snaps done here in gold, and again you got a little bit of gold string there wrapped around his shoulder, some nice matching gold also here on the gauntlets, or possibly the tops of his gloves, not really sure. He's got that also there as well. His belt, this belt by the way is a softer plastic, both the lower part of his trunks, or the tops at least of his pants, and the belt and the holster are all soft plastic. Again, it's a really nice looking figure. I think I like this one just a little bit more than Bachelor, not just because of the accessories that come included with the figure, but also just because like he's constructed better, and I like the look of the skull. For the articulation here on Captain Deadstar, the head is on a ball joint, provided I got it all the way on there. Head does rotate all the way around. It does look down for a little bit better, and it looks a little bit up a little bit better than Bachelor, and can also rock back and forth. There is no mouth articulation. If you did want to, of course, have the mouth closed, simply just default it back to the way it was when you first took it out of the packaging. The upper torso is on a ball joint. Not much of a ball joint, though. I mean that's as much as I can go back. That's as much as I can go forward, and you can only rock it only by just a little bit. The waist rotates all the way around. It doesn't look like it's on a ball joint. It looks like just on a waist swivel. Shoulders are unfortunately loose on this side. I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't think they've used the mold for anything else, but sometimes that's the case with Super 7 figures. They're loose for no reasons whatsoever. You just get them out of the packaging. Hey, he's loose right away. Does have a swivel at the bicep. Does only still possess a single hinge in the elbow, and the arms, the forearms rotate back and forth as well. The hands also, whatever hands you decide to display them with, rotate also all the way around, and there's also a hinge joint that allows those arms, or hands at least, to move back and forth. Again, for no reasons at all other than just a pirate's curse. This hand is just really loose. It's the hinge joint that they've used on this hand. The other hands aren't so bad. It's just this one right here. Legs do split out. You can almost do a full splits, I would imagine, with Deadstar here. You can take the legs and move them forward, you can move them back, and still, while they are using a softer plastic similar to Bachelor, I don't have the issue that I had with Bachelor where the leg, the part of the thigh here sticks up, where I'm always having to put it back in. Granted, the legs are a little on the looser side, this being the looser of the two. It does have a single hinge, again, only on the knee, that allows the lower leg to rotate, and while you can't do anything on this side, you can at least hinge the foot up and down this way, and there's a nice ankle pivot. Again, between the two figures, just to put down Captain Deadstar here, and then to bring back in the bird-flipping Bachelor, I think not only... I like the face on Bachelor, but I like overall head-to-toe how Deadstar turned out better. His construction also seems considerably better, too. The lower legs, where I did again have the issues with Bachelor, look at the state of these legs. Horrible. And while I did have the problems with Bachelor's lower legs giving me some real problems, I don't have as much of the problem when it comes to Captain Deadstar. There's nothing really I would have done differently to this figure. I think overall he's a home run hit. And I do like the idea that they also included the treasure chest. Granted, it does not have the key that actually it fits inside of it, other than just being a small missed opportunity. It's certainly something I'm going to have displayed along with the figure here. That's strange. It's been several weeks and I haven't even heard a chirp from Polly. Well, that's because, Captain, unfortunately, your bird is dead. I don't know how long you've actually had it on the shoulders, but maybe the dead giveaway was the fact that the bird hasn't asked for food the whole time you've been on your traveling trip. Speaking of traveling trip, I happen to have the map in his hand. The hands don't really do a great enough job of holding the map. You sort of just have to fan it out and hope that the fingers do enough gripping onto it to stay in his hands. Now, I've also got him with the treasure chest. One thing I do wish, as a side note, that this treasure chest could have come included with some booty inside. Granted, he has more than enough booty to be displayed in his hands, but when it comes certainly to the treasure chest, you'd like to think that he didn't go on this maiden voyage, killing most if not all his crew to finally get where he needed to go, only to find out that the treasure chest was empty. Would have been nice to maybe put some coins or some giant jewels. Giant jewels, I don't know how well you would trade that in. I mean, when you eventually get to where you're going, you just go to like a jewel shop, just big giant jewel. Like, how's this guy going to be able to pay you? Is he paying you coins? Give me your big giant ruby stone and I'll give you some coins in exchange. And then what's he going to do with that? Who's going to be buying a giant stone after? I'm overthinking the matter. What I certainly wasn't overthinking was when it comes to displaying this figure, even though I did like the cape. The problem with the cape, though, is that you can't then attach the bird, dead or otherwise, onto his shoulders. So I think for right now, when it comes to displaying this guy on the shelf, as most likely I will be right after this review, I'm going to be displaying it without the cape. Sans the cape. Simply just go so I can display him along with Polly. Figure comes with lots of accessories. It's really kind of hard to choose which accessories you'd like to display, but with the amount that they actually display or include with the figure, there's lots of options that down the road, if you want to change things out, simply have them displayed. I do also wish that the figure also could have had a pistol firing hand. That's one other thing that I wish could have improved with this figure, because, of course, having the pistol holstered on the side of his leg is all fine and good, but if he wants to maybe be... If there's mutiny on board his ship, as most likely there will be, I mean, he's been carrying around a dead bird on his shoulder this whole time, but if there ever was a mutiny, he'd only be firing to the side of the ship. He'd never be able to fire straight forward because the figure doesn't have the proper hands to do the job. Either way, though, I really like the look of Captain Deadstar, and actually find myself interested to pick up the rest of these. Initially, it was only just on a whim that I decided to pick up Bachelor, because I kind of like the look of the Bachelor, and then with that, I also ordered the Captain Deadstar over on Entertainment Earth. Now that I find myself slipping down the rabbit hole, I'm sure I'm probably going to be picking up the rest of the worst Ultimate figures as they start to show up. Speaking again of showing up, both Bachelor and Captain Deadstar, as far as I know, is still stocked over on Entertainment Earth's website. If you guys are interested, pick these up for yourself. I'll provide certainly the links down below in the video description. What do you guys think of the worst Ultimates? And if you have picked up any of these, which ones have you picked up? And let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. Also, as well, if you enjoyed this video, hit it with a like. If you love the content that you're seeing and certainly do want to stick around for more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.